Nigeria's engagement on the world stage has entered a fascinating and strategic phase, moving beyond traditional diplomacy into the realm of organized international lobbying. Now, the report indicates that the federal government, through a law firm in Kaduna, has entered into a $9 million contract with the Washington-based lobbying firm. Their explicit mandate to communicate the government's actions on protecting Christians in Nigeria directly to policymakers in the United States. Now, this contract, filed by the firm DCI Group on behalf of the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, opens a direct window into Nigeria's proactive and costly lobbying strategy. Now, today, we're examining what this targeted effort signals about Nigeria's broader international lobby, what are the objectives and the perceived necessities behind such a move, how does this shape Nigeria's foreign policy trajectory, and what does it mean for the nation's core national security interests? Now, joining us in the studio to discuss these issues is Emmanuel Osemeka, a public affairs commentator. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Now, to have a clear picture, and I believe a lot of Nigerians would not understand what this means.
Yep.
What does this $9 million lobbying contract mean?
There's no other way to describe it. Just like your intro, is an appeasement, sort of. Because if you look critically at the terms of reference, and of course the company that has, that got this contract to lobby for Nigeria. I mean, lobbying is legal in the United States. In Nigeria, I'm not sure that we have that law that permits lobbying. So Nigeria frowns at such thing because it appears to look like an inducement under the Nigerian law, but under the United States law, lobbying is allowed. Now, what you can see clearly is that the administration is very jittery because when you look critically at the United States today, run by the U.S. President, Donald Trump, my very good friend, quote and unquote, you will see that the guy is operating without guardrails anywhere. I can't imagine that in 21st century, a United States president will invade another country, abduct the president of that country and his wife, fly them from that country to United States, and charge them for only God knows what under the United States laws.
All right, should I say that, or should we assume that this is some sort of a depiction of fear from Nigeria?
It appears to be so, because I remember the other day I had I joined online on your news when we talked about this, and I said clearly that this shows the lack of leadership on the part of the Nigerian government, because yes, lobbying is, hiring lobbyists is good, but today we don't have a substantive ambassador in the United States of America. I believe the gaps, majority of the gaps we have, is because we don't have a substantive ambassador. If we have an ambassador that is what is onion, an ambassador that has been properly trained on diplomacy and all that, and he sits dry there in Washington, he should be able to open certain political doors. He should be able to engage effectively with the United States Congress, Senate, and of course the Trump administration. Of course, we learned that there was a committee set up between Nigeria and the United States, and a part of Nigeria was headed by the National Security Advisor. And if you see the decision they just took with this $9 million contract for lobbying, you see that this company that is going to lobby for Nigeria is made up of Donald Trump's henchmen, like Stone, for example, who was sentenced to jail under Joe Biden's administration, and Trump came in and pardoned him. You look amongst the list of the owners of that company, you see that it's made up of Republican chiefs, it's made up of men and women who are within the what you would call kitchen cabinet of Donald Trump. So our government was being strategic in picking this company to be able to do this for them, because I believe they would believe that this company will be able to speak to those who make the decisions. Bearing in mind that Donald Trump had also threatened that he was going to come back to invade Nigeria again, and of course they also began to talk about elections. I recall, I think it was the second week of December, where I saw a statement made by the Nigerian president, that Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and that Nigeria will resist every form of intimidation or interference or any form of interference in our elections. When I saw that, I knew that something was going on. You see, but the idea is also sounds quite defeatist, because America knows exactly what's going on in Nigeria. Why? They have their people here, one. Two, they also sent people from the Congress to come do what they call on-the-spot assessment, first-hand assessment. Unfortunately, they went to the villages. They spoke to victims. Now, I know that the report is not good for Nigeria and for this government. So in order to ensure that whatever decisions that will follow is not so detrimental to this government, given that this is also an election period.
Now, there are lots of speculations that obviously Nigeria is trying to do damage control, but $9 million, that's approximately 13.5 or so billion naira. What tangible outcome do you think justifies this $9 million price tag when it comes to policy shifts, sanction reliefs, military cooperation, or is it just merely reputation management?
I think what you see now is that the Trump administration has the Nigerian administration exactly where they want to have it.
And where is that?
Under their grip, under their control, under their whims and caprices. Donald Trump is a bully, and he doesn't know how to operate diplomatically. He believes his style is winner takes all. He's a man who believes that using the media to the full extent is what works for him, and it's worked for him over the years. Whether he's spewing lies, he's spewing disinformation, he's spewing misinformation, because he never ever tells truth. That's his style. And he's a man who doesn't know how to accept dissenting views. So you see the media try to push back on him, and the next thing you hear is abuse and all kinds of, vituperation that you would least expect a president of a nation to, spew. And likewise, the thing is beginning to dovetail, with his appointees. Several of his appointees, the secretaries of Homeland Security, Secretary of Defense, which they now call Secretary of War, the White House spokesperson, they began to copy that style. And that's not democracy. And you could also see that for the first time in the history of the United States of America, American presidents deployed military against American citizens. So the US president is currently unhinged.
So if it does that to its people, it can do anything
imagine.
to anybody,
Exactly.
anyone else. So now, speaking of this $9 million that has been contracted out,
Yes, good.
do you believe that those funds could be used for something more tangible in Nigeria, especially when it comes to, domestic security, intelligence, or even diplomacy, in its diplomacy capacity?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot that 13 billion naira can do in the country. I mean, we're still struggling with electricity. There are so many communities in Nigeria that do not have pipe-borne water. Well, not so many. A large proportion of our country more than 80% of this country does not have pipe-borne water. Even there in the FCT, we rarely see pipe-borne water. So you're talking about access to clean water, which is part of the SDGs. We don't even have it in 2026. So there are a lot of health facilities that are either moribund, dilapidated, or completely, worn out. So there's a whole lot that can be done, right? Our university system is almost to the point of describing it as comatose. But we wouldn't say it's comatose because it's still functioning, but the question is, at what stage are they functioning? Our university professors, what level of pay are they getting? Besides the agreement that was reached a few days ago, it's not just about agreement. The federal government has always reached agreement with the university professors and all that, but they say it's in the implementation that has been the issue. So the government is quick to sit down with them, have a good conversation, come to a compromise or come to a decision. But when it comes to implementation, it becomes a big issue. So you see that Nigerians are going through harrowing experience because we are currently being burdened with humongous tax burden that when you take a look at the take home of the average Nigerian worker, it does not even take the person out of the office, how much more taking the person home. So there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of challenges we have that 13 billion can solve.
Now, there are lots of things that Nigerians have been skeptical about. Now, for example, this hiring of a foreign lobbyist, it might signal weakness or failure in Nigeria's diplomatic corps. And we've had speculations when it comes to the tax reform as well, that an international body has been hired to manage, the collection of those revenues. So what does it say about Nigeria hiring foreign entities in helping it out, and is it really helping the country out?
So when you find a government that is struggling with legitimacy, that government will do anything to legitimize itself. Every government gets its legitimacy from its people, because the sovereignty belongs to the people, and the people hand that sovereignty to the elected leaders. But when you see people behaving, people who are supposed to be holding the sovereignty of a nation, behave in a certain manner, you see clearly where the challenge is. Unfortunately, the current president, when he was giving his acceptance speech after he was declared winner by 3 a.m. on that fateful day in 2023, he made a statement. He said, "I know many of you did not vote for me." Do you remember? Quote and unquote. And I underlined that word and I kept it.
So if many did not vote, how did he get the majority vote?
I only repeated what he said. So you could see that from day one, it was clear that the mandate he has, which explains why they are all shouting on your mandate. Because you don't need anybody to shout on your mandate if you actually have the mandate. So you see a lot of behaviors that is quite untoward, of by a government. So you see clearly that the government is struggling to legitimize itself with the people. But you see, where the government got it wrong is that when you know clearly that you do not have or you did not get the majority support, but somehow you found yourself at the leadership, what you should have done is to endear yourself to the people. Unfortunately, the government has failed in that respect. What the government has done, many have described it as the government is angry with Nigerians that they did not vote for him, and therefore all the policies are to punish. That's what many analysts have put forward to explain why you see the harsh and very difficult policies being churned out, even when it's quite unpopular and is drilling Nigerians to more poverty.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, that there isn't a clear-cut law when it comes to lobbying in Nigeria, or it is not really accepted when it comes to the law in Nigeria, but it is in the United States. Now, do you think that there's a particular due process that needs to be followed when it comes to giving out this contract?
Well, I mean, you know, the executive powers of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is limitless, if I may use the word. I mean, for the first time in the history, when you hear that word, the executive office, the office of the president, or, you know, the president of a country, many countries, they've been very careful to limit, to make clear the powers of the president. But unfortunately, when it comes to Nigeria and the United States, because we copied from the United States, you see that the president has enormous powers. That's why the U.S. president is behaving the way he's behaving, because he has enormous executive power. Just like the Nigerian president has enormous powers. And the truth is, we can do anything, just about anything, under the guise of national security. Recall that this contract was given under the guise of national security. So the question is, who determines national security? Remember President Muhammadu Buhari, who talked about national security supersedes your rights. Yeah. So it's what the term national security, it speaks to that 188, that impeachment, whatever, where they say gross misconduct. The question is, what is gross misconduct? Some say, some lawyers say gross misconduct is whatever this assembly says is gross misconduct. But that's wrong. That's a wrong interpretation of the law. There are clear provisions, all right? So I digressed there. But the point is, if you look at the powers of the president of Nigeria, you will see that there is a portion that says whatever he deems that is in the best interest of the country. Yes.
All right, now, when we go back in history, we know that this is not the first time Nigeria is hiring United States lobbyists, now in the 1990s under the military rule and later during the Obasanjo era. But what makes this particular one different from that time?
If you look at the military era, you could see clearly that the military didn't have a place in governance. So Nigeria was being barraged at the time with sanctions. We were more like a pariah state, especially under the Abacha administration, because of the human rights abuses and all that, and the level of killings that was going on. And of course, if you also compare that to the days of Obasanjo, President Obasanjo came into office, inheriting a almost comatose country. Nigeria was on his knees when Obasanjo came into office. And because he's a man that has that international clout, he was able to put those things in place. Nigeria was sanctioned everywhere, United Nations, that everywhere, we were nowhere. So he needed those lobbies to be able to help Nigeria come out of, we're a pariah state, So the difference is very clear. Today, Nigeria is not under such sanction, right? We belong to a lot of international organizations, international treaties, and all that. The president of Nigeria travels anywhere he wants to. President Buhari is the most traveled president Nigeria has ever had. He attended every conference, and in fact, any conference, even the one that was unnecessary, he attended them. And President Tinubu borrowed from that. He's the second most traveled president in the history of Nigeria. Most Nigerian presidents don't travel that much. Most Nigerian presidents have been domestic presidents. They sit down, concentrate on the issues in the country. They most likely send people to go and represent the country to do. But from the days of President Buhari, you could see that there was this deliberate decision to have the chief marketing officer of the federation to be at every international organization. I cannot measure the impact of those travels because I didn't see a lot of foreign direct investments. Just like President Tinubu is doing. I've not seen the humongous foreign direct investment as against when President Obasanjo was in the saddle, or President Yaradua, or President Jonathan. During these three gentlemen years, they had more foreign direct investment on an annual basis than we've ever had under President Buhari or currently under Tinubu.
All right, let's look at national security concerns.
Yes.
Now, we would ask, was any security or intelligence risk assessment conducted before engaging in foreign lobbying firms? And there'll be a concern when it comes to sensitive national security information, and if any has been shared with foreign consultants.
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen. You and I will not know that because we are not within the corridors of power, 1, 2, or even if we are within the corridors of power, we are not within the corridors of the National Security Office. Under Sambo Dasuki, from during the time of investigation, that was actually the first time national security was investigated, probed, and all that. Because, I mean, national security, you never investigate that because there are a lot of things that you don't want to expose. Unfortunately, it was done, and we had issues. The case went on for many years, then eventually died. Because the truth is, you barely can convict anyone who acts in the interest of national security. It's supposed to be a patriotic act, which is supposed to save lives. Because everything about national security is about saving the lives of Nigerians. Just like the President of the United States is saying today that the reason why ICE is going after, going on the streets of cities and counties is to be able to find criminal illegal immigrants. But in the course of that, they are killing citizens, American citizens. In the course of that, they are maiming and destroying, lives and causing chaos. But it's all under the guise of national security. So across the globe, you will see it. If you go to Russia, same thing. All right. So a lot of oppositions of the Putin administration over the years have died mysteriously. But if you check, they will tell you it's a no-go area. You cannot investigate it because under national security.
All right. Now, looking at this contract, and obviously it is unavoidable that a lot of information would be fed to that consulting firms. Now, could this contract unintentionally give foreign actors leverage over Nigeria's security policies?
I would doubt, I would be surprised if with this contract, to lobby for Nigeria will expose itself. I'll be really, really surprised. I believe this is more political, actually, because I believe this speaks more to the image of the administration, because the administration's image is really not quite good. Don't forget, this administration also inherited the Buhari administration's deficits in terms of its relationship with citizens. And from Buhari's administration, citizens have been shouting, interest groups have been shouting marginalization, killings, and what have you. Interest groups have been speaking about targeting. So by extension, the Tinubu administration is an extension of Buhari administration because it's still the same political party, which is supposed to hold the same views, the same ideology, the same interests and all that. So they inherited quite a lot of this, and unfortunately, they've not also been able to strategically handle a lot of the negatives that they inherited. You recall that the activities of the Boko Haram insurgency also spiked. The banditry activities spiked. So all of that has given credence to the concern by the U.S. And when a country is designated as a country of particular concern, it speaks to corruption, it speaks to so many, it speaks to the state being a criminal entity. All right. So I believe one of the major objectives that the lobbying activity will, achieve for the government and of course for the country is to be able to assuage the U.S. government. Don't forget, as a result of this, Nigerians have been banned from traveling, both students, both all kinds.
Now, do you think that this is a way of probably avoiding what had happened in Venezuela to happen in Nigeria?
I mean, you cannot divorce that from it, but I want to look at it from the two-pronged approach. One, the government lacks legitimacy, so they're looking for legitimacy as much as possible. This is one of the few administrations that never got to see the president of the United States immediately after they came into office. So that's to show you how broken
and I believe that the Nigerian president has not met the United States
no, they haven't met
face to face.
They have not.
He started in office.
They haven't met. Usually, once they take office, and after that, you see there's an hunger.
Yes.
When they go for hunger on the sidelines, they meet or they talk about state visit. Of course, Nigerian president will go to talk about, because America has a strategic interest in Nigeria, heavily. But unfortunately, Nigerian president was, pushing to see Donald Trump at the time. Not Donald. I think was it Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Yeah, it was Joe Biden at the time, but he didn't. And then when Trump came on board, he also tried. It didn't work. I remember that they said, "Oh, the president is going for hunger" at the time in 2025. And one of these meetings will be to meet the United States president, but it never happened. So I believe strongly that one of the things they're also trying to achieve is to, mend fences where there is. Don't forget, President Tinubu is very close to the Democratic leaders, because, of course, APC is like the Democrats in the U.S., and while should I say PDP or ADC now, is like the Republicans. The Republican Party is never going to be nice or friendly with a democratic, lenient government anywhere in the world, because they believe that they are liberals, and they believe that anything associated with liberals is against the tenets of conservatism. All right? So.
Now, looking at what is going on, do you believe that without a face-to-face contact between two presidents, that different issues are going on in a particular country? It's like a game of telephone whereby there is no direct contact. Do you think that it will bring any impactful solutions to Nigeria and its national security?
It remains to be seen. Though I think so a week ago or thereabout, or last week, where Nigeria received some consignments from the United States. It was reported to be some security supplies. Of course, such things are never detailed to us. But you see, for me, I'm more interested in one, the generality of Nigerians. I'm not interested in the president being in good friends with Trump. That will not give Nigeria anything. That will rather help the president to perpetuate himself in office. And by extension, Trump currently serves as some level of guardrail for this administration in Nigeria. Unfortunately, in the US, he does not have any guardrail, so he does as he likes. If we have that scenario where there are no guardrails for our president, he will do the unthinkable. The 2027 election is going to be a watershed in the history of Nigeria, because Nigerians have suffered for too long, and many people today believe that the outcome of the 2023 election is not what they know it to be. And so, therefore, many are strategically preparing for 2027. In 2015, there were a lot of stories, Nigeria is going to divide, blah, 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 and all that. In 2027, we might not have that noise about Nigeria going to divide, but it scares me what will happen in 2027 because of where we are, where we're coming from. So where we're going to scares me.
Now, what does this $9 million lobbying contract say to Nigerians?
That's a very difficult question. For me, what I see is that the federal government is more interested in looking good, which I believe any government would try to look good before its strategic partners. especially a country like United States. Don't also forget that there are moves that Nigeria has made in the last couple of years that were antithetic to some of the, agreements Nigeria has had with the United States. Nigeria has moved more closer to China. Nigeria has moved closer to Russia. The Nigerian current president is very, very close to the French government, the French president. He practically, I think his second home is France. I think during the days of Obasanjo, it was Germany. Yar'Adua was Germany. Jonathan was Germany. Buhari was UK. So this president is France. And today, the French government is almost standing on one foot. And the French president does not command the kind of influence he used to command within the United States, okay? I mean, if the French president could be kept standing just for the United States president to pass for more than 30 minutes, so all that speaks to one clear objective. So the United States has always acted in the interest of the United States. More so, you have a president like Trump who says America first. So this 9 million is supposed, in my view, is supposed to do one major thing. To pitch this administration in good light to Congress, the Senate of the United States, and of course, to the US president. That's one major thing I believe this $9 million is meant to do, given the company and the drivers of the company that is supposed to do this job. If you look across the globe, everyone who truly wants to get close to Trump goes through this particular company.
Now, do you think that other countries that are facing comparable issues like Nigeria would do something similar in, contracting a foreign body to lobby for their country?
Oh, a lot of companies do that, including Ukraine. A lot of companies lobby. Oh, yes, they do. Especially if you have strategic interest, which you believe that probably, look at Trump rules with tariff. For many, they believe that the reason he does that is he pushes those obnoxious tariffs to bring you to a negotiation table. And because he's a bully, so what he does is that he pushes first. America controls about 32% of the global economy. That's humongous. There's no country in the world that controls that apart from America. So they have the largest economy in the world. And don't forget that the greenback has always been the currency of the global currency. And with the BRICS nation, which Nigeria is part of, among several other countries, over the years they've tried to, break that monopoly. And Trump has frowned at that heavily. And Venezuela was supposed to be one of the countries to be used by BRICS nation because of the oil they have. And that's why you see Trump going in there heavily. All the Russian and Chinese interests in Venezuela, gave him serious concern. That's why you saw him act brazenly. But I can tell you honestly, I don't think Donald Trump will be able to do what he did in Venezuela in any other country.
Now, when first off, the United States president declared Nigeria as a country of particular concern, there are lots of speculations when he said they're coming to Nigeria and coming guns blazing. Those are his words. A lot of Nigerians or reports or critics and speculations would say he's coming due to ulterior motive to come get natural resources from Nigeria. Now, is this a way of stopping and corking those speculations, or a way of stopping the ulterior motive that people have speculated about?
No. The lobbying does not have anything to do with that. The reality is, none of these Western nations will help you for free. There's always something they will get in return. Be it the French, or be it the Chinese, be it the Chinese is supporting Nigeria to the extent they are giving us so much loans with very long moratorium. But if you look deeply, you will see that there's a lot they're getting in return. You look at Russia, their strategic interest is also very clear in sub-Saharan Africa. So when you look at our belt, you know, the Sahel region, you see that the Sahel region holds a lot of lithium, all right? So, and lithium is the current gold in the world. So, and quite a number of other rare earth minerals, you know, which America does not have a lot. The other place you have it in is China, but China is also very strategic. They don't want to mine theirs to an extent. So you see that for every interest they show, there is something they're interested in. And I can see that over the years, America has always wanted to put up a base in Nigeria. But Nigerian government have consistently said no for the best interest of Nigeria. But I would not be surprised if this administration will say yes to the United States government to set up a base in Nigeria.
All right. Quickly, before we go shortly, do you think that this $9 million lobbying contract would make America or the United States step away and maybe scratch off that designation of country of particular concern, as well as the allegations of genocide on Christians?
No, it will not.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel Osemeka, for shedding so much light on what is going on in our space here in Nigeria. All right, that is all we have for this segment